Hello, welcome to TomsAviation. I hope you enjoy the next video.
Thanks for watching.
And then one thing that...
Hi, my name is Brad Deckert. We're here at Clow International in Bolingbrook, Illinois, near Chicago. Behind me is the TBM Avenger, an Avenger 3E. It's 1945, owned by Michael Kopp out of Seattle. And it's for sale if anybody needs one. I was fortunate enough to be able to fly it over here today for their event, but let's look around at the plane.
Talk about the engine, if you would.
So the TBM is the largest single-engine airplane of World War II. The engine is a Wright R2600. That means it's a radial engine, 2,600 cubic inches. So if you think about your 350 cubic inch car, scale it up. It's 1,900 horsepower, slings a 13-foot diameter prop, and has enough power to get an 18,000-pound airplane off a carrier.
How is it to fly?
Very heavy on the controls, very loud, hot in the summer, cold in the winter. There's actually nothing comfortable about flying it. Very stable airplane, but it's a handful.
What do you like most about the plane?
What I like the most about the plane is the history of it. Meeting the veterans, hearing their stories, talking to the veterans. The airplane has a tremendous presence on the ramp, so that's fun. We can sit it beside a Corsair or a Mustang, and it holds its own. So this has the standard Grumman wing fold mechanism, or a version of it. So the airplane's 54 feet wing spread, folds up to 20 feet wide, which is tremendous space savings. Obviously they did that to get them on carriers. It's a very simple system. Doesn't look strong enough, but they tore several wings off of these in the war, but the failure point was not the wing fold.
Okay.
Which I find very interesting. They failed outboard of the wing fold. It's all hydraulic, so it's just flip a lever, and then there's a flag that you can see up here, and we can verify the wing lock from the cockpit with that flag. Very reliable system.
So this comes up, this part right here comes up, meets that.
Correct. This comes up, comes right in here. At the same time that happens, this button satisfies this hydraulic switch, sends hydraulic to the back side of this pin, and drives the pin to lock.
There you go.
So the Wildcats and the Hellcats fold manually, the TBM is hydraulic.
And then have you ever had a unique moment in this plane other than doing it?
I've only flown this plane today, but yeah, I've certainly had exciting moments in my own. Matter of fact, I'm just off a 1.5 year wait for a new engine after a failure in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we see that you're walking fine, right?
We got the airplane to an airport, so.
You're a patient man.
Well, it's so typically, almost all World War II airplanes, the control surfaces are all fabric. They did that for weight, but that's something a lot of people don't know.
Right. And then you have the back there.
Yeah, we'll get around to that.
Okay. How you doing?
Doing good. The rudder here is what you see here is not two trim tabs. One is a booster. One moves opposite of the rudder to help me push the pedals.
Okay.
And that is way necessary.
Right.
And obviously the reason that the airplane has folding wings is it's a carrier airplane, and you can see the tail hook here, one of two different styles on TBMs. They had internal ones earlier in the war. This is a later model. Something interesting on the wings is these have leading edge slats. So air comes in here when you're slow and have a high angle of attack, and helps keep control on the ailerons for landing on the ship. So there was a crew of 3. There was the pilot, of course, up front. The second compartment did not have a seat in it in its war configuration. There was filled with radio gear, and mostly an autopilot filled that section. Then there's the ball turret gunner, had a 50 cal. He stayed in there the whole mission. And down in the back was the radio man, bombardier navigator, or at an air show, luggage.
Oh, really? Wow. Wow. Right. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then the, what are we looking at there? Is that that tube there?
This is actually the scope for this. This is forward-looking radar. This airplane was amazingly advanced for its time. It had forward-looking radar. It had a radar altimeter that you could tie to the autopilot so that you could do night torpedo runs, and you could set it at 50, 75, 100, 125 feet. So in the pure blackness, no lights, you could trust that autopilot to take you to a ship. If you were 19, you could do that.
And then what are we looking at right back here?
The earlier models had a 30 caliber that stuck out back here. By the time this one and mine were built, they'd eliminated that, but the window back there was still there. And there is no indication in the cockpit that the tail wheel is up or down, so the radio man could look back there and verify.
Right.
So some of the stats for this airplane are its gross weight was 18,000 pounds, or is 18,000 pounds. Its maximum speed is approximately 300 miles an hour. We cruise it at about 200 miles an hour. It was all in knots, of course, being a Navy plane, but.
And that is at how many gallons per hour, or
we flight plan it at 100 gallons an hour. We can slow it down and lean it out to more like 70. And to get more than that, they flew them down around 45 and 50 in the war gallons per hour, but they had to slow it down to 120 to do that. And it's not even comfortable to fly at 120. So.
Sure.
So it's just heavy and mushy. And
right. What about range?
Range, they got 1,000 miles out of them in the war without drop tanks. There again, they had to fly it at 120 to do that. We figure our comfortable range is 500 miles. That's giving us a pretty comfortable reserve, but I'm a fan of a comfortable reserve.
Sure. And can I ask you, what did you learn to fly in? What model aircraft?
Well, I was mostly a Bonanza pilot and a helicopter pilot when I bought my TBM. It's a simple case of ignorance is bliss. I had no idea what I was getting into. This was my first tail dragger, my first round engine, my first anything over 300 horse. So it was a pretty steep learning curve for me.
Sure.
So the airplane is a torpedo bomber. It was designed to carry primarily one 2,000-pound torpedo. It would take up the entire bomb bay. What you're looking at here is actually a mail bin for when they use these things for carrier on-board deliveries. In addition to a 2,000-pound torpedo, it could be configured to carry 2,000 pounds of any configuration, whether it's lots of 100-pound bombs, 250-pound bombs, depth charges. you're interested in owning one of these pieces of history, this one's for sale. Thanks for watching.
Okay, my name is Nick Pendergrass. This is a TBM Avenger. My dad flew one of these in World War II off of a small carrier called the Swanee in the Pacific during all of the really horrible things that were going on in the Pacific at the time. We still have his journal, so every day he would write stories about what happened that day. One of the most unforgettable is his story of flying from Hawaii, or flying to Hawaii from San Diego, and his amazement at beginning to pick up air traffic, people talking about the airport, because he was flying just with compass, and that was it, across a very big ocean. He told one story about one day flying onto the carrier deck and missing the hook. That was a real fear, because then he went into the barrier. And fortunately, everything was okay. The plane may not have been. I think he said they simply took planes, and if they were damaged, they would just run them over the side and drop them off the edge. He did not talk about the war much. It was clear that it was uncomfortable. I only saw him break down once, significantly. It was with a red sunset over the Pacific, and it reminded him of when he lost one of his good friends in a battle over an island. And but otherwise, he loved to fly. My mother didn't. We were never in an airplane as kids because my mother feared airplanes. So my dad stayed with the Navy, flying about anything that they would put him in, I think. A weekend warrior doing anti-submarine planes. Oh yeah. So we grew up with the lore, but not the stories. Sure.
We hope you enjoy the video, and please subscribe.